Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hang out with these nerds.
I'm Ted.
Ryan.
And today, for your enjoyment, we have a review of the Tome of Beasts for 5e from Kobold Press.
If you want to jump down to the description below, you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter. It's a great way to get RPG gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
Okay, so that 5e, is that for Shadowrun or Savage Worlds or what?
Masterminds.
There is only one 5e, and that's 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Here's a third-party publishing tip, right? If you want to make stuff for Dungeons and Dragons, you just have to call it 5e.
Yeah. Well, now you have the OGL, so it's all legit. So
you still can't use the term Dungeons and Dragons, though.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So one of the things I want to say is, one, I backed this in the Kickstarter, and I'm really happy I did. I think it was like the $77 level, and you got some extras and stuff in addition to the hardback book, which retails for $49.99 cover price.
Right, but it's on pre-order from Amazon, $37.50. Is that right?
Yes.
So for Amazon for $37.50, which the link is in the description below. So if you get it through that link, you help support us, and you get your sweet Tome of Beasts.
And you get like 500 monsters or something more.
Like, what was that page count? 400 some odd?
429?
Yeah, 429. This thing is huge. This thing is enormous. I love the art. I think it's gorgeous. I actually think a lot of the art in this book is actually better than the
average of the Dungeons & Dragons monster manual.
Yeah, I honestly, like, we were discussing, like, some of the printing seems to be a little dark, and I think that detracted from some of the art. But
yeah, like the darks are way too dark, and some of the details are lost in it. But that was also.
But I feel like they would have been nice pieces had the printing been right.
So
you can compare it to the actual PDF, which we also got through the Kickstarter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know, all of that's really sweet, really amazing. You're gonna get a lot of monsters. There is a ton of construct, undead, fae,
so many fae,
demons, devils, dragons.
but even more than that, demon lords, archdevils. There's also a couple Lovecraftian monsters.
Clockwork people, clockwork things, clockwork this and that.
You've got a variety of Fey Lords to throw in there.
Now, you know, there is one thing I will say about the monsters in this book, and one of the problems I have with it is you can see the very heavy influence of 3rd edition, where things tend to be a little more powerful.
Yeah, there's a little save or suck going on in some of the builds too of things. Like I saw some things that like, oh no, this happens and it permanently is a thing. You're permanently blind.
Oh yeah, you fail your saving throw and you're permanently deafened
or blind. Yeah. Whereas like for the design sort of consensus of this edition, it's usually 24 hours
or 2 rolls and suck.
2 rolls.
So most of the things, like the most extreme things, say a Medusa or Gorgon turning you into a stone statue, 2 rolls and like something awful happens. But this, like, oh no, you fell a DC 17 and that just happened. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. So like, there's a couple things. Like, it seems like the saving throws are a little generous throughout the book. Tiny creatures are really bumpy, where they have way more hit points and strength than they would comparable to the monster manual. Like, I literally went through the monster manual, and really tiny creatures range from 1 hit point to 32, and that 32 is really rare. It was only one monster. Other than that, it was like, there was some 21s and some 22s. Yeah. And then from that 32, there was one other monster that had 80, right?
Well, that was the Demi-Lich.
And that was a freaking Demi-Lich.
Yeah.
Where in here, like, you can find tons of tiny creatures that have 40, 50, 70, 80.
Yeah. So that felt wonky, and then also too, so many of those tiny creatures also have like a low so there are some that have like a 6 strength, but there's a lot that have like a 9. That's like it's
or a 10 or 12. I've seen
or 12s or 13s or whatever. And then the cons, you have a lot with like 14 plus cons, 18 cons, which from a fiction standpoint in a game world, you expect like a little creature to not be that tough, both in physical strength and in health. Like, just because it makes sense, like, oh, it's this little thing, I should be able to, like, blow it away with a Thunder Wave spell or whatever.
So here's the thing, right? This book is about 100 pages more than the monster manual we have. I'm just guessing. So for there to be 2 demi-lich-like monsters in here would make sense to me. Maybe 3, but on average they are a little more powerful. Now that being said, you can still use this stuff in your game easily. You just have to know that it's a little bit stronger, and you might have to use a little bit lower CR monster from this book in your game than you normally would.
Yeah, I actually would say to think about this, like, each monster you might want to consider it like 1 or 2 CR higher than its listed CR. I mean, for figuring out the challenge that it might present to your party. Or you might want to kick back the hit points 20-30%, because I think some of those things, if the monster manual is our base of game balance, this kind of goes a little left field from that.
Now, I will say game balance is an important thing, and with the campaign that I'm running, I'm always struggling with what can the party handle. As long as, to me, the stats are matching to the challenge, I don't care the size of it. We're dealing with magic, we're dealing with things that are beyond our world, so I don't see a problem if this fey creature is possessed of a strength greater than its individual size would normally dictate.
Here's where I agree and I disagree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, that's fine. But when there's like 10 of them,
and also too from a fictional standpoint. So like the mythological red cap, like, you know, goblin that would, or fey creature that would like dip his cap in the blood of his enemies, and I think they're smaller, tiny or small. I think probably small. Like there is a thing where like it makes them stronger or whatever, preternaturally strong. Makes sense. But for everything of a tiny size to be like Mighty Mouse gets a little absurd.
Well, I don't think any of them are really geared towards being Mighty Mouse. They're just being stronger than
when you have a tiny creature with a 13 strength, that's huge. That's a big deal.
That man.
Well, it's not huge, but it's tiny. But so there's things like that. There's lots of, I just think the stats as a whole tend to run kind of high. Like, there's monsters in there that I'm like, why do they have a positive charisma modifier? Like, or it's just like, well, if they had one weakness, this could have been that. But like, so across the board, your saving throws are going to be a lot more solid with these monsters, because there's a lot that don't have particularly weak stats.
Right.
I think from a balance perspective, it's a little off, because, you know, your ogre-esque monster, your big hulking monster, you expect it to either have all of or some of its mentals, its intelligence, wisdom, or charisma be the thing that you could attack on that monster. Right. And I feel like there's a lot of things that, oh, it's got like an 11 or a 15, like, and like that doesn't sometimes, and some of them are like, it might have a spellcasting ability tied to charisma, fine. But then there's other things where I'm like, well, this is like a giant spider monster. Why does it need a not negative charisma?
Because it's so goddamn pretty.
It is. Just love
so
it.
I will say that I enjoyed my first flip through. I didn't have the time to be able to read solidly through 429 pages.
None of us
did.
Yeah, I do want to say that, like, the first 30 pages I've kind of solidly read. It was kind of skimming the next 30 from there, so I'm probably about 60 pages in, and then just flip through to like check out the pretty art.
So when I look at the actual combat, stuff, the block, it doesn't seem like anything is so drastically overpowered versus its challenge on the things that I specifically looked at. But, what Ryan says is, lowering the CR by 1, dropping the hit points by 20%, that would definitely be able to give you more of a balancing factor versus a monster manual. But the amount of story and RP concepts that are in here, the new and interesting flavors and things to deal with, I thought it was awesome. And
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun to add to your table. Gives you a ton of options to just to handle with care a little bit. Like, and yeah, I'm just saying that, like, consider the CRs like 1 or 2 higher. Maybe.
Yeah, we're kind of being a little extreme just so you're aware when you open this book what you're going to get. Like, there's so many cool monsters. There's so many anamorphic monsters in here.
Anthropomorphic or that.
Yeah. That too.
Yeah, like if you want bear folk or this or that in your game,
you got bear folk,
groundhog,
groundhogs,
lemur,
you got a
hedgehog.
a variety of different bird creatures.
Crocodile
there's a crocodile people.
So if you want that scene in Fantasia with the dancing crocodiles, I don't know if there's hippo folk in there.
I didn't see any.
But you
hippo
have your crocodiles, and then we just need the GIF the GIF to come back from Spelljammer, and then we can totally Fantasia it up and have bar troops.
So you get what is it, 6 different types of dragons with 3 to 4 different size ranges for each. So that's plenty of different ones. For you dinosaur lovers out there, you get 3 different dinosaurs in this book. According to Dave, 1.5 of them could possibly be real dinosaurs.
Close enough.
A little spurious of that, yeah.
Yeah, I dug the arboreal gorilla. Instead of having regular arms, they're like tentacles,
stretchy arms, stretch arms, strong arms.
It can't actually move very, very well on the ground, but moving through the trees is kind of like second
it's like
nature
a sloth.
for it. Yeah,
sloth.
Except it's got arms that are 10 foot long.
Yeah,
just like a sloth.
You know, as we mentioned earlier, there's the different Fey lords, one of which is the Lord of the Hunt, which if you're like us and reading the Dresden Files, it's basically the Earl King, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's this Midgard setting, so it's very mythological feeling, which I love a lot, because that's actually when I think about Arcane Pain World, things that I want to be thinking about a lot more, versus the sort of Forgotten Realms or whatever. I want it to be more so like pilfering from actual mythologies that existed, because you kind of get a hybridized version. Yeah. So in the D&D campaign setting, so I want to really loot from mythology more.
Right. So in here, you know, as you know, these guys were talking about, there's clockwork and gear forge type things. One of which is the library automaton, which is its sole purpose is to like organize books.
It's
and
a book
store
vending
things.
machine.
So like my character in Dave's campaign was like, he's gonna want one of these, absolutely. So need to try and make that happen. So there's lots of
bunch of different ghouls, a bunch of different
so many. Well, so they have like this is its own campaign setting.
Yeah.
So these ghouls are like not your typical of the Monster Manual ghouls. They're just like an undead nation essentially.
There's also a bunch of different giants in here.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. I felt like on the high end, the hit points were a little low.
Yeah.
So it's like, and the high and the low was a little weird to me. But that being said, like,
so the low CR monsters seem like they have too much hit points, and then like the 11 plus CR monsters or 17 CR monsters a little low.
Yeah. Well, more so, I guess I focused more on the size of the monster. I guess I don't know why that rubbed me the wrong way, but it did.
Well, no, like big burly monsters. The thing, constructs, undead, and giant-esque monsters generally should have a crap ton of hit points. Whereas your Fae are kind of your more brittle. We have all kinds of magically affects things, but we're kind of glass cannons in a way.
Yeah, so that's more trickery and stuff like that.
When you were,
beguiling, not necessarily glass cannons.
When you were sizing up those things, you were looking at the Fae Queens or Fae Kings and Queens when you said that, and they were in that 17 plus category.
Yes,
and they do have less hit points, but they're Fae, so that kind of falls into that realm.
Except for if you're a tiny Fae, because you're fucking shit up if you're tiny.
like comparably, if you compare the
by proportion, dude, like there was like a dark pixie in there, and I was looking at like the regular pixie, I was like, wow, it was like more.
It makes the regular pixie its bitch.
It was like it had more than 10 times the hit points of the regular pixie. Like I was like, all right.
Well, are you sure it's only like 1 or 2? Like it's probably even more than that.
Yeah.
So just like your regular Monster Manual, this does have like your NPC villains
in the appendix. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So you can have a few more options or a bunch more options to be able to readily throw out there. And I thought they were pretty cool. I don't know why the Ogre Chieftain wound up being back there as opposed to in its own section. But
I'm a little disappointed though that there's a temple dog but no temple lion.
Yeah.
To me, like
so sad.
You
could just reskin it and call it a temple lion if you really want to. Oh, I love the what was the defiler monster? It's like toward the beginning, something defiler. Like it's like within the first handful of monsters in the beginning of the book.
okay, sorry.
Well, he said Defiler. That's a D.
Yeah, but it might
Something
not start.
Defiler.
Something Defiler.
Well, I like the giant stag frog with 6 legs. That thing is pretty badass.
Yeah, a lot of
that's one of the ones that can permanently deafen you.
So did you happen to read the thing about the shark bone skeleton or shark jaw skeleton?
I did not. I did see it though. Well, that's kind of interesting.
I looked at it.
Does it just hug you and everything bites you?
It's literally a skeleton made out of entirely shark jaws, and I'm like,
is it a Sahagan golem? It should definitely be a Sahagan golem.
Yeah. So the thing I was thinking of, and it's in the A, is the Accursed Defiler. Like, it's just really cool. It's just like the sandy, deserty undead. And give that spell casting, and that's a perfect Athasian sort of Defiler, like white sort of thing.
Or Lich, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Give it spell casting, and it's like totally thematically fits.
yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So it even has Defiler in the
Although I'm
name.
still stuck on the shark jaw golem, right? Can you imagine, like, you're the characters and you encounter that in a game, and you're like, who the hell does that? Like, you'd be stunned and flabbergasted for a moment. You can't even fight it. You're like, who does this? Why would you do that?
Yeah. So
It's not even a golem; it's a skeleton.
Yeah.
It's like it defies the...
Well, there's like a veggie troll skeleton too as well.
Yeah, so there's you got so much in dragons, and there's some cool stuff with
There's also drakes and
there's a lot.
what else? What else was there? There's drakes and there's something else that's also like in the dragon vein. Is it worms? I'm not sure.
Why?
But guys, there's like over 500 monsters in this book.
Yeah. So, the thing I was going to say is there's some cool, handful of cool, like, desert-themed stuff. There's good, like...
There's a lot of desert-themed stuff.
Decidedly forest-themed stuff in here. And then all your creepy undead.
The things that kind of stick out to me is the desert, Dark Fae, and automaton construction, constructs and clockwork creatures. And also, if you happen to be a druid, there's quite a few new beasts in here that you could really add to the game if your DM is
generous.
so inclined. Yeah. He might say the same thing. We go, what? This is so good compared to the CR.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that is going to be a major consideration for the GM. Like, isn't there one thing in here that's even has the potential to become a familiar, but based compared to every other familiar?
Yeah, it's like a fiendish drake or infernal drake or something like that.
You said it like 50 hit points.
It had like 50 hit points.
Yeah, so that might be
I could see, like, you're a wizard with Find Familiar, or or even a warlock at 3rd level. You're getting this thing and it's like lapped you in hit points.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So all in all, like, there are some nitpicky things that I think we've mentioned, but I am happy in this book, and I can't wait to see what kind of things from this book I'm going to throw at my players to their utter dismay.
I'll certainly be getting my own copy to be able to send back at these guys.
I know Ted was upset after I had gotten my stuff. He's like, I should have backed that Kickstarter.
Absolutely. I mean,
I knew it.
Like, I didn't even see it until it was over.
Yeah.
So, it was one of those
Guys,
things.
I just have to intrude real quick. I mean, we did do a Boozoos. There's an Outhouse Drake.
Yes, I did see that one.
Yeah, but there's also a rum gremlin.
Yeah, I just love the fact that, like, there's a picture, there's a tankard next to this Drake, and he's just like laying
Dude,
there.
we have to do that Monster BFF. The Outhouse Drake, the rum gremlin, and a Boozoos.
There you go.
It sounds like the beginning of a bad joke.
Welcome to a bar, yeah, for sure.
That they take over a bar.
I don't know, did any of you guys back this Kickstarter? Have you gotten your stuff? What do you think? Are you as happy with it as I am? Let us know in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out on Facebook.
And also check out that link below to get it on Amazon.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.